Shalom, Israel. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahanna. And we are not affiliated with any other Israelite group, nor any other organization. This is Priest and Officer 500 Yerushalayim in the I.S.U.P.K. And we're going to talk about something that's really detrimental in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. We have to know who's in charge of us and who is supposed to lead so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, understand? Like, this is a very important topic and a very important subject. Blacks and the Hispanics and Native Americans are dying right now. We are dying from murder. We are dying from police brutality. We are dying from abortion rates. We are dying from HIV and AIDS. We're getting so many STDs. We're dying from cancer. We're dying from heart diseases. We're dying from heart attacks and strokes, you understand? Like, there's a lot of things that are happening to Black people, including the Hispanics, the Native Americans, our Latin brothers, you understand? Like, we're being thrown in mass incarceration. Like, that's another epidemic in our Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. Like, we're not really worried about the pandemic. We're really worried about is the epidemic that's happening in our nation and our so-called race of people, you understand? A nation is a race of people, you know? And we're worried about what's going into our communities. And the problem is that we are not following who we are supposed to follow. We are not listening to who we are supposed to be listening to. We're listening to the Democrats. We're listening to the Republicans. We're listening to the independents. We're listening to political parties that are ran by another nation of people in America that has nothing to do with ours. Right. Like, we have to listen to who the Lord chose and who the Lord raised up for us to listen to and for us to follow. Like, that's very important for so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And when we don't listen to who the Lord tells us to follow, and if we don't listen to who the Lord told us to listen to, we end up dying because of it. Right. Our communities become destroyed because of it. Nothing gets fixed because of it. May I get Deuteronomy 17 and 14, Book of Rashad, sir?
Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Most High, thy power, giveth thee.
It says when thou art come, correct? It says when thou art come. Thou is a possessive pronoun within the Bible. It's Old English. Thou is referring to you, you understand? When you specifically, you know what I'm saying? When thou. So who is the you? You understand? Who is the you? It's like not a possessive pronoun, but who is the you? Who is the thou that the Most High is referring to? Like, that thou is talking about the children of Israel. Like, the Lord is talking to the Israelites right now. And the Israelites are so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And right now, we live in Americas today. The Bible says we're scattered among all the nations, you understand? But right now, we are in the Americas, you understand? Like, the predominance of our people are in South America, in Central America, in North America, you understand? Like, that's where the majority of our nation of people are in, you understand? That's where we are. We're in the Americas, you understand? So the Lord is talking to the children of Israel, and he's going to give us something that we would have to know, and what we have to live by, and what we have to follow. Go ahead, sir, Brother Rashad.
Sure. And shall possess it.
And this is the land that we are going to possess. You can start from the top, Brother Rashad.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
So the Lord is giving us a land. And these are the rules that we have to follow in this land. Go ahead.
And shall possess it.
So when we possess this land, it's going to be, when you possess something, it's yours. That's your property. You own it. No one else does. So it's yours. Go ahead.
And shall dwell therein.
Shall dwell therein. Go ahead.
And shall say, I will set a king over me.
Like it says, we are going to set a king over thee. we are going to say, set a king over thee. It is normal for a nation of people wanting a ruler over them. You understand? Like, that's common. Every nation of people has their own type of leader. They put a king in charge of them. In America, it's called the president. The president is the king that is over the United States of America. You understand? And then through that president, you have different political parties within that government, because that government and their policies is restrictly to their nation of people. That's their king. So the Lord is saying, as the Israelites, as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we will say we want a king over us. We want a ruler over us. We want someone that has authority over us, because it's common. Go ahead.
Come. Like as all the nations that are about me.
Like all the nations that are about me. Like every nation, the East Indians have a ruler, have a king. The Chinese, the so-called Chinese and the so-called Japanese, they have a nation that's, you know, a king that's over their nation. Just like the so-called white man, which is our oppressor in America. He has a king, which we just spoke about, which is the president of the United States of America. Every other nation always has a king that rules over their people. You know what I'm saying? That has authority over their people. I'm using possessive pronouns for a reason. You understand? Because it's their people. It's not everybody. It's what they consider their people. You understand?
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee.
Thou shalt, read that. So read that one more time, sir.
God. Verse 15. Deuteronomy 17 and 15. Thou shalt in any wise.
In any wise. Thou shalt in any wise. Go ahead.
Set him king over thee.
Go ahead.
Whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
So the Lord is saying, if you're going to set a king over you, it has to be a man, a king that the Lord chooses. You understand? Like, that's what the Lord is saying. And the Lord is going to explain himself even further in detail. Like, not everyone is supposed to rule over the nation of Israel. Not everyone is supposed to be ruling over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
Like, the Lord chooses who is going to lead the so-called black community. The Lord chooses who is going to lead the Hispanic and the Latino and the Native American community. You understand? Like, the Lord chooses that. Like, that's in the Bible. You understand? Like, it's not what we choose, it's who the Lord chooses. And that's what we have to understand as a nation of people. Like, we've been going down the wrong direction by thinking we elect and choose who is going to lead over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Like America chose Ben Carson to be over the urban communities. When America talks about the urban communities, it's talking about the ghettos and the hoods of America. It's talking about where blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans mostly dwell. And Ben Carson, as a black man that leads over the urban community, is who America chose. But what has Ben Carson actually done for our race, our nation of people? What has Ben Carson done for the Hispanic and the Latino people? Ben Carson has done absolutely nothing for the race, the nation of people of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in the ghettos and in the hoods of America. Like, right now, we have an epidemic in the Latino community that our people are being separated from their families, from their mothers and their fathers and their daughters and their sons and their siblings and their brothers and their sisters and their aunties and their uncles and their grandmothers and their grandfathers. You know, your abuelos, abuelas, you understand? Like, we are being separated from our madres, our padres, you understand? Like, we are being separated from our families, being thrown in INS detention centers, being thrown into dog cages, like actual cages as a dog that would be put in, you understand? And it's horrible living conditions, you understand? Like, that's what is going, and that's the epidemic that's going on in our community. But what has Ben Carson done for our communities? This is the man that we so-called elected to rule over our people. Like he is supposed to be a leader for our nation of people in the ghettos and in the hoods of America. But what has he done? Absolutely nothing, because Ben Carson is not who the Lord chose for blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans to listen and to follow. Continue reading, sir.
Oh, sweat. Deuteronomy 17:15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among thy brethren.
It says who?
One from among thy brethren.
Now these are stipulations. Like the first stipulation, right? One of the main stipulations, which should be repeated again if I'm not mistaken. If not, the first stipulation is the Lord has to choose who our leader is supposed to be. And the second stipulation is it has to be among your brethren. Even though Ben Carson may be a black man among our brethren, but the Lord didn't choose him. And then the president of the United States is Donald Trump. He is not who the Lord chose, nor or neither is he among our brethren.
Right.
Like someone among your brethren is the same nation of people who came from your forefathers. You understand? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand? Like Donald Trump did not come from the loins of Jacob, whose new name became Israel. He did not come from the seed of Jacob. You understand? Donald Trump came from the seed of Esau. He's an Edomite according to the scriptures. He is not the same nation of people as us. You understand? Continue reading, sir.
Good. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee.
Right, go ahead.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee.
It says what?
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee.
Like this is why so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are dying in our community. Because we chose to be a Republican. And then we chose to be a Democrat. You understand? We chose it due to our oppression. Due to the fact of us being oppressed. And our oppression, we thought it was okay to be a Democrat. We thought it was okay to be a Republican. We thought it was okay to be into politics. We thought it was okay to vote. And because of so, we put a stranger over us. Even though the Lord said, thou mayest not set a stranger over thee. When we put another nation of people over us, we have to obey and abide by their rules and their regulations and their laws. And because of so, they don't work for us. Like voting, being a Republican and being a Democrat does not work for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You understand?